So before I get started with this week's video, I just felt I needed to say a few words. It's only been a few days as of recording this video since I heard this shocking news that Alyn has passed away. If you don't know Alyn Wallace, he was an astrophotographer. He shared his work here on YouTube. I considered him a colleague and a friend. Sadly, I only got to spend a few hours with him in Heathrow Airport when we went to Antarctica a couple of years back. I got COVID, so I couldn't join the trip, so I didn't get to hang out a whole lot with Alyn, but we have been riding back and forwards. We were supposed at some point to go and do some astrophotography together, make some videos together. Yeah, and it's just unbelievable. I just felt I needed to say something, and this just goes to show that life is fragile and we need to take care of each other. I will leave some links to his work up here in the corner and down in the description. He made a TED talk a few years back that I think is very, very worth sharing, because it was all about how we need to keep our night sky clear so we can look up at the stars, everybody. And there's no doubt that whenever I will look up at the night sky, I was not supposed to cry here. When I'm going to look up at the night sky for the rest of my life, I will think about Alyn. Oh, let's get on with this week's video. So it is morning, and yeah, it's the first time I'm out since the devastating news of Alyn's passing. Like it's unfathomable, and it's so hard not to feel guilty for being happy because I'm out photographing. And it's the first time I'm out in a really foggy environment in a Danish forest for what I feel is like half a year, at the very least without snow. But it's just, I feel I needed to say something. It just shows the fragility of life. So we gotta enjoy the time we have to the fullest. So yeah, as I said, forest environment, and over the past years I've been doing a little bit of scouting. I found this place here. There are some nice gnarly dead trees here in the background that I quite like, and I will bring in this stump here as my foreground, and then I have like a row of gnarly trees there in the background, naked gnarly trees, because it's that time of year. Compositionally, I am zooming in a little bit, as you can see right there. ISO 100, f16 gives me half a second of shutter speed. I could up the exposure a little bit until I have my separate stripes. Should give me a little bit more information. As I said, f16, and then I am focusing just behind the stump. And in that way I get my hyperfocal distance between the foreground and the background, and then I can have everything in focus in one photo. So I've come around and made it to the other side of this little bog here, and it is much easier to isolate the dead trees out there. So this is really, really nice. Super simple, yet I'm including some of the foreground here that gives a little bit more complexity to the photo. And then I have this tree right there. I may give this one over here a shot. I liked a photo I got from the other side, but I'm not entirely sure it works from here. But this one here looks super nice. On top of that, I make sure to include the background forest right there. I don't want to include the sky because that's just milky white and super boring. But by having the forest there in the background, it just creates so much more depth. So the main subject, the dead tree, is actually in the midground. So foreground reeds, midground tree, and then the background forest. Settings wise, I am down to ISO 100, f13, gives me a shutter speed of 1/6 of a second, and then I'm focus stacking it. I'm just letting the camera do the focus stacking, and I'll put it together when I come back home in Photoshop. So I've just been trying with a few other angles for the trees here in the background and with these greener reeds here in the foreground. And I think I may have come away with a shot or two that I quite like. So yeah, this is such a magical area. It's so funny, this place here, it reminds me very much like other parts of this forest of like those swamp manners from Magic the Gathering cards. And yeah, I don't know, I'm a bit of like, you know, a fantasy nerd. I quite like these things here. So now I can see that the sun may be actually coming through soon. It's a little bit too early. I need to shoot a little bit more, but I quite like what I've got so far. And obviously, if you want to learn more, I have my composition ebooks, and they are, of course, as always, with minimal text, plenty of examples with the photos. That makes them easy to read, so we get to the point fast. There are links to both of them down in the description of this video. So I've come out here in the open as the fog started disappearing in the forest. However, I am out here among all these bushes here that I really like because they are also super duper gnarly, and right now I'm photographing the tree here in the background. I have moved back and then I'm zooming in to get that perspective compression. The only thing I do not like about this specific photo is that I have the road or the trail going right through it behind the tree. So I'll have to clone that out. That's fairly simple. Settings wise, ISO 50, exposing to the right to get as clean as photo as possible because I am going to dehaze this one. It is all about the atmosphere, but there is quite a lot of atmosphere in this photo. F16 gives me a shutter speed of 1/8 of a second. Beautiful. So there's just one thing I fast need to address. So I made a video about how I've been downgrading my gear for the past many years. Thank you everybody for the concerns about my bag. My bag is fine. It has been fine since 2021. Now the reason why I downgraded is that I don't want to have a bad bag. And I got a lot of comments saying that a shoulder bag that I'm walking around with right now is the worst solution you can get. Literally the worst thing. What I also said in that video, if you had actually listened, was the reasons why I chose the shoulder bag. And it works really, really well. And you would also know that when I put in light gear, I said light gear in the shoulder bag, then it's not a problem. Yes, if I'm walking around with 3 lenses and 2 camera bodies, then a shoulder bag is a bad decision. But when I have 1 lens, my 16-35mm f4 lens that weighs like 300 grams, it's not a problem. I just wanted to say that because it seems to me that the viewing pattern of that video was that everybody saw what I put in the bag, but nobody saw 4 minutes later why I really enjoyed this bag. So the fog apparently seems to keep lingering around. So I've come to one of my favorite parts of this forest, and I'm trying a few new compositions here because, like with most forests, you can just keep shooting and return again and again and again all throughout the year and find new compositions. This one here is one I haven't photographed before. I quite like it. So I have zoomed a little bit in and I'm including this tree here and this tree right there. And because this tree kind of looks as if like there's a hole in it, and this one here in the background, it gives off that really fairy tale-ish vibe that I really enjoy in my photos. The composition looks like this, and as you can see, I have ISO 100. I am exposing to the right. F16 to get as much in focus as possible gives me shutter speed of 1/5 of a second, and I'm just beyond 100mm. And again, it's just about that atmosphere, and it's just about going out in your local forests, explore and see if you can find something. I know not everybody have access to a forest like the one I'm in right now. It's quite unique for what I've found here in Denmark, but it has taken me years to actually find it. So what I mean is to not necessarily take your local forest if you have already been there several times and can't find something, but maybe extend the radius to maybe 30 or 50 kilometers and start exploring forests around you. Chances are you will find something. At least I usually do. What in the world has happened here? That's the tree I've photographed so many times. It's like burned inside. You can see over there, that tree there too. It can't be a lightning that does something like that. It's like all burned here on the inside. And this one here, like it has obviously also been like cut down. I don't know what came first, but that's super odd because it doesn't look like lightning. I don't know, like, because the top of the trees are fine, as you can see here. So it's super odd that 2 trees next to each other that are hollow on the inside has been burned also on the inside. I bloody well do not hope that this is something to do with forest preservation or whatever other excuses they make. Frustrating, annoying. Well, cheerful video today. So I've come by this photo here. I am using these trees right there and there to frame this tree there, and the composition, if I zoom out here on my smart Osmo Pocket 3 right there, something like this here. F16 ISO 100 gives me a shutter speed of 1/8 of a second, and I'm also focus tagging this one. And I will also try a shot where I zoom a little bit more out and crop it on both the top and the bottom. So if you want to learn more about composition, there are links to my ebooks down in the comments, along with the link and the coupon code to my big Photoshop for landscape photographers post-processing course, where you can learn all my editing techniques, also including focus tagging, luminosity masking, how to use atmosphere, how to add atmosphere, how to remove atmosphere if there's a bit too much, can there be too much, how to use glow in your photos, and many more techniques. There are like 30 plus videos and 11 start to finish tutorials, so there is plenty to dig into. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different. It's just weird with Alyn. As I mentioned in the beginning, I will also leave some links to his stuff. Hopefully YouTube will keep it up, because that is kind of his legacy. So yeah, take care everybody. Life is fragile.